I mean, they're doing us a favor. They're disassembling the chip. So, how long is an hour until 30?
Where is it? It's in the room in the black closet. If you open the door, it's like in the.
There's a laptop. There's a laptop.
There's one. Here, can I? What's your email?
Where do I navigate?
I'll forward you. What's the?
This is not my laptop. I don't know how to. I can type in anything.
I mean, I can email you something that it says it's a QR code that I want you can put it up there.
Can you? This is not my laptop, so I can't. What am I supposed to do? What's up?
I mean, just log into your email.
Dude, logging into my email would take forever. Very.
You don't have any email that you log into?
No, it's like I've got like a YubiKey and all these other things that I don't carry with me. But I can.
Here, I'll send this to you.
You have no respect for security. Okay, now I have my WhatsApp on someone's computer.
How do I find your name?
I mean, if you texted me more
spell your
often.
name?
HOQ.
Do you have the control for that? Or do you turn it off from up there?
What are we turning off?
I'm saying there's one spotlight for them.
Is it on?
I just sent it to you. Hey. That's a good question. I think we just got to pull native. Do you have a phone you can leave up there to record? I mean, just pull native and we'll edit it in post. It's fine. There's like you pull the camera on you. What else are you gonna do? I don't have Lex on me. Alright, we're good? Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Let me turn this one on. All right. What do you want to start with? Just intro?
Oh, my man. Is that you leading Salah? Oh, okay.
Also, yeah, too close because we don't have a little further so we don't get too much echo. Not too close because we don't have a mic.
Okay.
So not too much echo.
Okay.
Explain the topic. Introduce it, and then kick it over to Shaykh, and then we'll have a conversation.
Don't kick it right away. Let's start with questions.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, that's how you go. It's a dialogue.
Okay. Questions from you and me, or what?
Huh?
Questions from the audience. Questions from you and me.
No, not from them.
From between you and between us. Okay. All right. Start off with a dialogue.
Yeah.
I think we just go.
And then if remember, I was mentioning the love skills.
Okay. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. One more time. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Usually I'm a little bit more animated, as you all know, but it's late. So, I'm not done about you, but I don't got the energy to be animated. Inshallah, we are all very... بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد الذي مبعوث رحمة للعالمين. We are very excited to be hosting Shaykh Mikaeel Smith at a Qahwa event. And as we all know, we've just come from a very somewhat heavy session.
Yeah, it's really heavy.
Because we were talking...
But hold on. This is Qahwa, right? Is this like roots-inspired Qahwa? Yeah. Is that what's going on, yo?
I would say...
am I like at home? Am I like at the, the branch of home right now.
You know, if that makes you feel more at home,
Yes, it does.
then
Yes, it does.
consider this your second home.
Allahu Akbar. Let's go.
And I
Let's
mean
go.
that in that if it's your home, you got to visit a bit more often,
Oh,
bro.
for sure. Alhamdulillah, I got peoples here. Alhamdulillah, so I
Alhamdulillah.
feel at home.
You know, Shaykh
But
Mik-
DMV has a different vibe, though. Oh, you trying to get into the topic?
no.
Chill.
If look, if you want to chill, let's do it.
DMV has a different vibe, though. It has a different vibe.
Well, I've never been to Dallas, so I don't know.
Dallas is special, bro.
What's special about it?
So one thing about Dallas is there's a halakha culture there, right? So like, it's very common for like this age group to just regularly show up at halakas, like show up. Right? There's a culture of halakas. I think that the masjids are very like just like maybe because of the topography of the land or whatever, but very well attended and stuff. So it is what it is. But every place has its ups and downs. But there is like a learning culture there.
You know, I would say that I'm very aware that your masajid are well attended because half of the people that are attending them are from this community.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, what the thing is when you're trying to start, and you know, one of the things we're going to be talking about is kind of marriage and things like that. When you're trying to start a family, being in DMV is not the spot, bro.
Oh.
The cost of living, like you need an arm and a leg, like.
I mean, the cost. I'll give you the cost of living, but you also don't get the salaries we get in the DMV anywhere else.
All right, let's get to the
I mean,
topic.
if you want me to start quoting, right?
Let's get to the topic.
Okay, I see.
Y'all got home field advantage. You know what I mean? So let's just get to the topic.
So we had it was very beneficial and it was very powerful, but it was a very, very heavy topic.
Yeah, and I think we need heavy stuff now. Like Palestine and Gaza has reawakened our spirituality. Right? Now when someone says contentment with what you have, like we see Ammu Khalid. You feel what I'm trying to say? So like right now, like we're at a place now, and where we're at right now is not where Muslims were post September 11th.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Right now, we're like, yo, bring it. And so, but spiritually, we got to be ready. We have to be on our game now. Spiritually, like we need to be on our deen now. We need to be on our game. We need to be spiritually dialed in. Because as stuff gets real outside, inside has to be dialed into Allah.
I want to jump in on. I mean, this is going to go completely off topic from what we were supposed to be talking about.
That's why I wanted a conversation.
But the reality is that post September 11th, the spiritual mood of the Muslim community became one in which we were far more concerned about maintaining a very particular kind of existence.
Yeah, for sure.
And a very particular kind of comfort.
Yeah.
And now what we've seen over the last 10 years, and it's kind of really, really hit with Gaza, is that we have a complete reawakening, reimagining of the Muslim experience as one that has to embrace the difficulty that comes with being Muslim.
Straight up.
Right?
I couldn't say it better.
ألف لام را أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون.
Exactly.
Right? Do people ألف لام را, do people think, do they really think that they are going to say La ilaha illallah and they're not going to be tested?
Yeah. I feel you.
Right? And we see now the test. Yeah. We see the strife. We see the struggle as it affects other people, and we think to ourselves all of a sudden, if they can struggle like that,
yeah, why can't I?
And why can't I?
Why can't I struggle with Fajr? Why can't I struggle with lowering my gaze? Why can't I struggle with not talking to the haram, like someone I'm not supposed to be talking to, right? That illicit relationship, right? So like, again, I think now as we say, what do we do? Right? Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, everyone here was at a protest, right? We've all shared. We've all, done as much as we feel, and we're going to keep doing more. But at some point, we all have to spiritually say, when do I get the message from Allah that you need to get real about your spiritual relationship with God?
Absolutely.
Like, that is what you need in these difficult moments. That's what's going to get us through that, right? And so, that's what I think we really need to focus on. Don't get me wrong. Activism has its place, and we're there. Like, we're all about that life. Right? But I'll tell you something I read. Salahuddin Ayyubi, right? There was a narration, like, who wouldn't want a Salahuddin right now? as our Muslim nations are like selling us out. Who wouldn't want a Salahuddin Ayyubi, right? He used to walk around the camp of soldiers, and if he saw soldiers that were engaged in reciting Quran and dhikr of Allah, he would point to them and say, it's from them that will be victorious. It's from them that... This is the most pragmatic man that we know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but look what he's focusing on. On top of his activism, his fighting, actual fighting, right? He's looking at the spiritual side. And so all of us really need to, if we're standing at a protest, we need to stand at night too.
You know, that also reminds me of an athar of Imam Ali, radiyallahu anhu, where a man comes to him and says, you know, there's such good times under Umar. We were conquering lands, we were taking over things, there was no discord and civil war. And now you've taken over. And look at what's going on.
Yeah.
And Imam Ali says to him, because he had followers like me and I have followers like you.
Wow. That's deep.
And I look at our circumstance and I think to myself, you know, one of the things that really hits me is the last 20 years, the reason why where we are is because we spent the last 20 years not being the followers that we needed to be. Not being the Muslims we needed to be. Not being the worshippers we needed to be. Not being the advocates that we needed to be. And then we hit 2023 and 2024 and we asked ourselves, why is this? What is this? And the answer is, ثُمَّ إِذَا أَذَاقَهُمْ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ إِذَا هُمْ يَقْنَطُونَ.
I know, man. It's tough. You know, there's a hopeful side, though. Like, last night, I had the pleasure of being with Sami Hamdi, who we all know, just last night, and he said something interesting, which was, there was a study done by a group of Muslims at like Launchgood or somewhere, and they like categorized the populations of different Muslims. And the fifth most populous category, the fifth most of this category was English-speaking Muslims, right? English-speaking. It doesn't mean American, doesn't mean Australian, doesn't mean British. It means all of that, right? And I think, to me, what that says to me is there's a lot of potential for what we're sharing on social media, for what we're talking about, for what we're doing. We can be trendsetters in the ummah, especially right now when we see parts of the ummah seemingly selling us out, right? Well, hey, maybe the flag bearer comes from a different place.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's us who, in the belly of the beast, chose to wear a hijab, chose to pray Fajr and Jama'ah, chose to pray Tahajjud, chose to pray Salah at work. Like, maybe it's us in the belly of the beast that are going to be holding on to this deen in the most difficult time. And it's just something for us to think about.
And you know, on that point, courage is a muscle.
Okay.
Courage is something that develops over time. And if we are courageous, if we can't be courageous on the small things, we cannot be courageous on the big things. And so if we aren't courageous enough in society when we are at peace, when there are no wars and no genocides, courageous enough to be able to pray on the street, courageous enough in order to take Eid off, courageous enough to wear hijab in public, courageous enough to wear our kufis and our thobes and our shalwar kurtas in public. If we can't be courageous on the small things, on the everyday, then how are we going to be courageous when courage is what keeps people alive?
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. Take it easy.
And yeah, so the thing though is that when we have these kinds of really difficult emotions we're sitting with, that we've been sitting with for a while now, and then that's all comes up, what sustains us through that difficulty, what nourishes us through that difficulty, so that we have the ability not just to constantly be in a state of heightened alertness, a state of difficulty and strife, but where do we retreat to so that we can have the nourishment to be able to go back into the field?
I mean, if we look at the life of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were in constant strife. The whole Medina period, there's no 2-3 months when there's not a battle happening or something. And I think that's where today what I spoke about is about having people you love close to you, that you realize are a place of refuge for you, right? And so that's why today twice I spoke about love. I mean, now is a time more than ever we need people that we love And for the brothers, it's brothers that you love, and for the sisters, it's also sisterhood as well. But it's also within family. We could talk about places where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam got nourishment. Like, think about this. When he would see Fatima radiallahu anha, like, how would he respond? He would like stand up. He would go run at her, his daughter, right? He would go run to her, hold her, give her his spot. Like, he had so much love for her. They say that she imitated him the most, the way she walked. And then we spoke about Aisha radiallahu anha in the beginning. And something that me and you talked about earlier is he used to say, "Ruziqtu hubbuha." Like, I have been given as rizq. Like, rizq is a word. It's like nourishment. Allah has provided me as nourishment, showing that love is a type of nourishment that we all need. Right? Love is a nourishment that we all need. And if you're not giving the people in your life the love that they deserve, that you're supposed to give them, then it's just as bad as not feeding a person food, starving them to death. It's just as bad as not feeding them, starving them to death. So I think that hub is a part of our where we retreat to. You know what I mean? Like the Prophet ﷺ. And then if we look like, again, here's another level of hub too. Hub between brothers. If we were to display some of the examples, listen, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh goes into the cave when they're migrating. He fills in all the holes. And then he puts his foot on a hole. You guys know the story. But you got to picture it. And then he calls the Prophet into the cave, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet lays on his head on his lap. Like that closeness. And unfortunately, we live in such a hypersexual society that now that level of closeness is considered weird. It's considered aib. It's considered like, oh, what's going on here? You know what I mean? I remember I went and visited Damascus, right? And this guy was showing me around, and we're walking down the street, and then he just grabs my hand and clenches my hand. Like locked up, yo. And then my man was just walking down the street, yo. He was just walking down the street like this.
This is me and Imam Majid whenever I do something that pisses him off. Every time I do something that like really Imam Majid does not like, he's like, come here, and he grabs you by the hand and he like starts walking me towards the office.
Yeah.
Right?
So what I'm saying is he had someone close to him that was able to be affectionate, and that was his brother. You know what I'm trying to say? So,
and this is actually something that is not foreign to English-speaking societies either until the mid 20th century. What is the most powerful poem written in English about grief? It is In Memoriam by Alfred Lord Tennyson. In Memoriam by Alfred Lord Tennyson was written for his friend who died in Italy. And it took him 20 years to get over his death. Wow. And he wrote 117 what's called lyrics, these sections of the poem. It's 117 sections of the poem over 20 years in which he doubts his faith, in which he doubts his beliefs on very basic things because his friend died. Wow. And there is a line in this, you'll find it everywhere on Instagram. And we all think it's written by a man for a woman or a woman for a man. But it's written for a man for his friend.
Amazing.
And this line is, I hold it true no matter what befall. I feel it when I sorrow most. 'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
Amazing. And he's talking about his friend.
He's talking about his friend.
And nothing homosexual.
Nothing.
Amazing. No, that has to be said. That has to be mentioned. And the reason that has to be mentioned is because the expression of genuine like love between brothers is something that scholars for a long time have spoken about. You know, that closeness that needs to be there. Imam Shafi has a poem, since we're on it, subhanallah. Imam Shafi has a poem where he said, لولا صحبة الأخيار ومناجات حق تعالى بالأسحار ما أحببت البقاء في هذه الدار. He goes, if it wasn't for the ability to chill and kick it with my homies and to pray to Allah in the middle of the night, Ma ahbabtu al-baqar. I don't even want to stay in this dunya no more. Meaning we all need those social networks, and we all need to build those networks of closeness together.
And the reality is, right, when we look at the Quran, there are certain words that are usually associated with romance. For example, ulfa, right? Which is attachment. There's a very famous poem by Ibn Awas that says, نقل فؤادك حيث شئت من الهوى ما الحب إلا للحبيب الأول كم من منزل يؤلفه فتى وحنينه دائما أو المنزل. Right? This is the ulfa there. The allafa is it's a romantic ulfa. But in the Quran, how is it used? وألف بين قلوبكم لو أنفقت ما في الأرض جميعا ما ألفت بينهم ولكن الله ألف بينهم. And that ulfa, that is the attach. So Arabic obviously has a gazillion words for love, right? Yeah. So you have sababa, you have shaghaf, you have hub, you have ishq, you have mawadda. Allafa means to attach, to bond.
Amazing.
And this attachment, this bonding, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He uses in the Quran, He talks about the bonding of brothers with brothers, with sisters, with the community with each other. So, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it is He who connects people. And you could have spent everything in the world to connect them. And you wouldn't have been able to do it. It is Allah that does it.
Yeah, that's an amazing verse. That verse is really important because in order to build the community, the Aus and Khazraj were fighting one another. And so these were two tribes that were at war with one another. And the verse is basically saying that the only thing that's going to bring them together is the deen is going to bring them together and give them that strength, right? And so that's what the word ulfa is meaning there. It's just, but in order to create a community for the Prophet ﷺ to grow, in order for there to be a community in which faith grew, there had to be fellowship and brotherhood there in order for that to grow, and everyone needs that. Now, the other place, though, there was a question asked earlier, and I spoke about love and fear. And I was talking about, and I didn't have enough time to truly break it down, but the question that comes up is we as young people, we're always fighting passions, fighting desires, fighting lust, fighting different things. And the question was asked by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi, so let me just break this down. So there's an old podcast that I did 2 years ago called Sufficient Answer, right? And basically it's based off a book written by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi, rahimahullah ta'ala. And the book is based off someone asking him one simple question. But the plot twist is you really never find out what the question is until halfway through the book. And what you really end up finding out is most likely he had fallen in love with somebody. And the question was, how do I eradicate or get that love out of my heart, right? And because we're talking about it, I just think it's relevant tonight, especially just being a youth gathering or whatever. And so Ibn Qayyim al-Jawzi, he's like, look, the only way you conquer love is with a greater love, right? What all of us have to do personally is discover things that we love more than that desired thing, right? And it could be something as trivial as calories, food, right? Or maybe I love something else greater than I'm going to love that instant pleasure, right? And that will help me trump or overcome that lower love, right? And so, and that's why we ask Allah to make His love our greatest love, right? So that we create loves that overpower that lower love. The other thing, though, he goes, but love doesn't always work. Sometimes it's fear, right? So to create something or think of something you fear more than the pleasure of the thing you love. The pain of that feared thing is greater than the pleasure that I'm getting from that thing that I love. So basically it's about understanding yourself and then developing and building and cultivating things that you love or dislike more than the passions that you naturally have.
And there's this, when we talk about love, oftentimes we talk in a very kind of Disney romance way, right? Where there is all the trouble that exists outside of the love, right? So if you think about Sleeping Beauty or Snow White or the whatnot, all of the difficulty that takes place in those stories are not between the prince and the princess.
I didn't even watch it, yo.
Yep.
I'm sorry, man.
I mean, now we're boycotting Disney.
It's been a minute, though. That's all. Snow White. I never saw Snow White.
Shrek.
It's 3 of them out now. I can't remember which one, man. You can still get to the point, though. Go ahead.
Okay, so do I have to break down Snow White for you?
it's just kind of trippy to me. The 10 dudes, like the girl.
Okay, it's 7 dwarves, and that is
So what's the point though? The love.
Okay, so the point is that if we look at these classic Disney stories, which by the way now we're boycotting Disney, so you can't even go back and watch it.
Yeah, right.
But if you look at the classic Disney stories, you have the love, the strife within love.
Okay.
Exists outside of the relationship of the lovers.
Okay.
There is, stepmother wants to kill me. Yeah. I'm gallivanting in the woods and I trip over something. Right. That is the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is not between the two lovers.
Okay.
But if we look at the situations that are within the seerah or in our own lives.
In our own lives, okay.
You find the difficulty is sometimes with the people that you love themselves. That is where the most pain of love actually comes in, right?
Yeah.
The pain of love is from the fact that you have to sacrifice for that love. And when you bring in this idea of fear, right? That you have to have something that you fear more than that love.
Yeah.
Right? That is how you suppress that love. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you also have to be able to conquer that fear in order to continue that love. And the story I want to bring in on this is the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam out of Fath Makkah. Okay. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is distributing the ghanima.
Yeah, the wealth.
The wealth to more to the Quraysh.
Yes.
And to the new Muslims than he is to the Ansar. Yeah. Until the point the Ansar say that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has come to his people, he's forgotten about us.
He forgot about us, yeah.
And so the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he goes to them and he says to them that, don't you remember that you were disunited or you were enemies and I brought you two together? Don't you remember that you were misguided and I guided you?
Yeah.
And then he says to them, and this is one of the most powerful lines of love I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Where he says, aren't you satisfied that they leave with sheep and cattle and you leave with the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam in your caravan?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And in that moment, what it comes to me is that sometimes these relationships of love, the reason why it doesn't nourish us is because we are so afraid of losing what we want and what we desire that sometimes we're not able to suppress that for the sake of that love.
I love that brother right there, though. But he gonna have me up all night. It's about to get lit. It's about to get lit in Adams, man. MashaAllah. Yo. No, okay, so I heard, like other cities around the country, there's a problem with marriage too here. Mm-hmm. Like people trying to get married and it's difficult to get married. What's up with that? Do
you want me to be honest, or do you want me?
No, let's discuss this. I mean, this is a problem that's happening around the country.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of things playing into this that we can really talk about. Because look, to persevere as we talk, that love is necessary. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Ruziktu hubba Aish," like I was given that love as nourishment. Mm-hmm. And if you're not able to create this meaningful relationship in which a lot of your spiritual power is going to come from to push through, then we have a major issue, especially when the warfare that we're up against is like one of major fitnas and major tribulations and major tests. Like the biggest shield you can have is a righteous spouse. The biggest shield you can have right now from the fitnas that are going on is that you can take refuge in a wife or a husband that is there to hold you in that moment, not criticize you, not find your faults, but just hold you through that moment and help you be a believer. That's what's going to help us in this. The nuclear family is what's going to help us in these moments. Exactly. Libas protects you, right? And so, I think it's important for us to realize that one of the relationships, the most quintessentially focused on, or whatever, like the relationship the Prophet focused on the most, was, are you fulfilling not just the rights, but ihsan? First of all, are you getting married? Because without marriage, you're not going to survive the difficulties that are out there spiritually. It's very difficult out here, right? And then once you are married, if you're not basing that marriage in love of Allah, that I do right by this person because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'll be questioned on the day of judgment, and this person needs me and I need them, then we're not going to survive a lot of these troubles. Now, I have a few reasons I think why it's so hard for people to get married. For reason number one, you have false expectations. You've been on social media too much looking at people with filters all day. People don't look like that. People don't look like that. You've been looking at fake images all day. Then finally your mom brings someone in and you're like, dang, she don't look like that. That's your fault. Why didn't you lower your gaze? And then maybe normal beauty would be beautiful again. But now you're so caught up. And the crazy thing is, we all know how fake it is out there now. This is the sanctity of a masjid. I can't even say more. It's all fake. It's all fake. And then when a real believing mu'mina, salihah, comes and is like, I'm ready, you're like, oh, well, I'm so used to the fake eyelash and the fake this and fake that, wait, my expectations are somewhere else. And so, the verses are clear. وَلَا تَنْكِهُ الْمُشْرِكَاتِ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنَّ وَلَا أَمَةٌ مُؤْمِنَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن مُشْرِكٍ وَلَوْ أَعْجَبَتْكُمْ. No matter how beautiful this false beauty is, realize if you spent a week with one of these fake women, you wouldn't even be able to stay in the same house with them. But these believing women that fear God, they'll have your back in the most difficult moments of life. But unfortunately, you've been looking at TikTok, seeing these filters all day. So I'm the first one to say, get off the apps, man. Get off the apps or curate your feed. Curate your feed. You have to curate your feed. Nobody just eats anything. We're not like scavengers. So if you don't consume anything, why would you mentally consume anything? I think TikTok is one of the worst because you can't even really curate that feed. Like some of the other apps, you have some ability to check what you're going to see. But now it's AI, like, I got you.
I'm going to be real with you, Shaykh Mikaeel. My feed is entirely Urdu poetry. So I know how to curate that
There
feed.
you go, you good.
Yeah. There are like tools you can use.
Everyone is not like you.
What I'm saying is, if you want to curate your feed.
You can, okay, I got you.
I got you. Like, just come up to me and I'll tell you how to get into Urdu poetry.
No,
TikTok.
but so one of the reasons I think marriage is getting difficult is number one, false expectations. Right? A number two reason I think marriage, and the brothers are going to be like, yo, this dude, like, he's only focusing on us. But, yo, hold up, chill out. Like, if we did a poll, there's going to be 2/3, it's going to be double the sisters ready to get married than the brothers ready to get married. So something's like, what's up? Like, how come ain't no dude ready yet? Right? So number one, false expectations. Number two, the general problem that we all have as millennials as inability to commit to anything. I don't want to commit to nothing. You can't even pick your degree, dude. You can't even figure what degree you're going to do because you're not ready to commit to anything. Bro, it's time to grow up. It's time to pick something, man. You can't do everything. If you try to do everything, you end up doing. There you go. When everything, someone just said it. She just said, when everything's priority, nothing's priority. So what I'm trying to say is number one, life is about commitments and sticking to them. Life is about commitments and sticking to them. And you're going to have to commit to someone. And so you're going to need that spiritually. The Prophet ﷺ said this completes half your deen. Right? And so look for a righteous woman who you would want to raise your children. Right? And who will respect and honor you, but also help you in your deepest, darkest moment. And if you have that, you have the world and everything that it could possibly give you. There's nothing else the world can give you. You are a king, quite literally. Right? And so so expectations on the male side and the female side, I just think the expectations are false. We need to realize that we need to lower the expectations. And I'm not trying to say have no expectations, but I'm just trying to say, I was talking to Ustad about this the other day, Abdurrahman, and he was like, people in here want a perfected product, but they're not a perfected product yet. You want the dude to be everything is perfect, but you ain't a perfect product yet. Like, and I'm not saying you should wait to get married until you are. I'm saying just stop looking for since you said Disney, stop looking for Prince Charming.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Stop looking for Prince Charming. If the brother has a gig, he committed to the deen, and he's got good akhlaq, and he read with the heart and mind. No, I'm just joking. Just joking.
That's a plug.
Just joking. We out of stock right now. You can't even buy that right now. So, no. The point is, if there's emotional intelligence, if there's care for the deen, if there's wealth and no care for the deen, I'm sorry. When your beauty fades, my man's interest is going to fade. For real. But if this man fears God, man, you got a king. You got a king. I'm telling you, got a king. Because no matter what, this man prays salah, and in his heart, he remembers the Prophet ﷺ saying, خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِ وَأَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِ. Now, all you got to do is be able to respect him when he shows compassion to you. Because I don't want to go on that trip, but sometimes the guy can be so compassionate that, y'all ain't ready. They ain't ready, yo.
So
they ain't ready for that.
Unfortunately, I spend my days doing my day job and my nights taking young boys out to IHOP so they can talk about their heartbreaks.
Yo, if your heart gets broke, it's your fault. Why you catch feelings? Catch flights, nah. Why you catch feelings before it was legit? Why did you catch feelings before it was legit? That's your fault.
The Sahaba caught feelings before it was legit.
Hold up. Prove it.
The Rasul Sallallahu, what did the Rasul Sallallahu say? He said, "Ma lil mutahabbina."
Okay, that's different.
illa
cool. I get you.
az-zawaj."
I submit. Let me explain what he's saying. The context, what he's saying is there's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, when you're intending to get married, then look at one another because that increases love. I think you're kind of misusing it.
I don't know though.
Because
mutahabbain implies what?
I know, bro, but why are you going to drop that on them right now?
Because one of the problems we have
is what?
Is the reality of the circumstances. You can protect yourself as much as you want. You fall in love when you fall in love.
Nah, bruh.
That is the reality of the circumstance. There are ways in which
Time out, hold up. What time is it?
12 o'clock.
Okay, hold up. You may be right. For the sake of it, let's say you're right. What I'm trying to say is you need to guard your heart.
Absolutely.
Before either side, if somebody is dragging on the process of courting, you got, I hate to say it. It sounds a little crass, but it's not. My mother said this to my sister. And my mother, may Allah guide her, inshallah, make dua for her. She said to my sister something, right? Not Muslims, right? But it's wisdom. It's that old black woman wisdom. She said, who gonna buy? Y'all gonna take it wrong, though. Don't judge me. Don't judge my mama. She said to my sister, who's going to buy the milk? Who's going to buy the cow if the milk is free? What she's trying to tell her is, stop giving yourself to people before they commit to you.
No, that's absolutely true.
Okay. So there needs to be, in my mind, an emotional barrier that I'm fighting that, until you man up and show commitment or woman up and show commitment, I'm not investing emotionally more in this. Emotional investment is the problem. Don't invest until you get that commitment. Now, can you go all the way and get stage fright and then break it off? Of course, that can happen. But I did my best part by not emotionally investing before the commitment was given. And I heard Dr. Shadi say this, and it was legit. He's like, sisters, you don't realize how much light you have. And by just mingling with a brother, he's basking in that light. He's loving that. Muhammad, right? You know what I'm talking? He's loving that. And you're just like, oh, we're just chilling. And he's like, he's getting that fulfillment, right? And then you catch feelings, and before you know it, now there's heartbreak. So what I'm trying to say, here's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say, like, a lot of us need to move forward in life on the male side and start making some commitments, right? And I know there's other family issues around there. There's other issues that we got to talk about. but we need to start moving forward. Like we need brothers to start making that next step forward, right? The other side is try to not emotionally invest until you're sure things are going to be moving forward. And you can never be 100% sure about anything except death, but you still did your part. You still did your part. And so I agree with you when you say you could do all you want and you can still get your heart broken. I agree with you. I get what you're saying there. But there's still a reckless emotional investment that shouldn't be taking place.
So I want to define this reckless emotional investment, right? Because a lot of the young men who get their heart broken because they were talking to somebody about marriage.
Okay, but I had a thought. But okay, go ahead.
And the reality is that like you can have situations in which you try not to, you try not to text too much. You try only to talk in like public spaces about marriage stuff, and yet
you find compatibility. You check the major boxes. You have a physical attraction, and you move forward, yo.
And yet you still end up with a lot of circumstances where people get cold feet. People turn out to not be who you thought they were. You think there was compatibility. They think there wasn't compatibility, right? The reality is sometimes the heart moves where the mind doesn't.
Yeah, you're right.
And one of the major issues is that the first time there's a heartbreak, the first time they got attached to somebody, and then it didn't go through. It becomes difficult to overcome the fear and the anxiety of going through that experience all over again.
No doubt. That's true. That is true. I mean...
And this is both for guys and girls.
Yeah, 100%. I know many brothers have gone through this. They're like, yo, it was all on the other side. I understand. That is something that is legitimate pain. You put forward your best thing. You thought you were going to... So, can I share something from the Sirah? It's so beautiful. I love to go back to the Sirah because we think we're the first people experiencing something. So let me explain. There is a name, the name slipped me. It's like 12 o'clock at night, right? Barira is her name. And the Mughith, thank you, Ahsant. Mughith, so there's a little fiqh I need to explain here. So basically, Barira was separating from Mughith, right? She had the right in the legal situation to separate from him. And Mughith was deeply in love with her. They had been together, but because of a legal situation, she had the right to kind of break it off, right? And she was exercising that right. But Mughith is in like mad love with her, right? And the Prophet ﷺ was sitting down one time, and literally the hadith says that Mughith was walking behind Barira like pleading his case as she's just walking away. And he's literally like just chasing her, trying to get her to and then the Prophet he couldn't do anything. He said like, look how much he loves her and how much she doesn't love him. And he was heartbroken. And there's no good ending to that story, by the way.
Yeah.
Like the Prophet actually spoke to her and she's like, is this an order or a recommendation? He's like, recommendation. She's like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to be with him. And so I agree with you. There are cases, no doubt. But my main thing is I still feel 70% of us, a big number of us, there's a level of reckless emotional investment before, too early. That should have come early. Find interest, find compatibility, stop looking for, and subhanAllah, the more you scroll on the apps, the more you look, the more picky you actually get, and the harder it is for you to choose. You have to look for key things, find those key things, make istikhara, and move forward, right? And pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in that. If you're waiting for perfection, it's never going to come.
So how do you get people to actually overcome the fear and move forward?
Emotional intelligence, I love it. EQ. The fear of like rekindling, you're saying after they've been hurt?
Whether it's the first time or the second time or the third time, there's always a certain kind of fear of anxiety that's involved in moving forward.
No doubt. I mean, it's hard to think back. I mean, it's been years and years, alhamdulillah. The fear and anxiety of what, being like rejected maybe?
No, so for example,
heartbreak?
Let's say you have two people who've been talking to each other, right? About compatibility, about things, right? They figure out that this is probably a good idea.
Yep.
Right? there's still circumstances, and in fact, there's a lot of anxiety that comes with
About
actually
surrounding circumstances, like family, all that other stuff.
It's just like, what if this isn't the right person?
See, that's a level of analysis paralysis that we have to say, i'kil wa tawakkal. That's where tawakkul kicks in. See, that's where the spiritual element comes in. You did your homework. You did everything you could do. You did mashwara. You looked at his mama's back history. You looked at cousins. You asked friends. You did what you could do. You did your due diligence. Now your heart says this is a good move. You prayed to Allah. You saw a dream even. Everyone trying to see dreams. And who sees dreams? Right? Huh? Yeah, but sometimes you don't see a dream. Everyone waits for a dream for the answer to istikhara. Istikhara just means you'll feel right. Your heart will feel inclined. Right? Now, the problem is now there's a fear. There's khawf. There's khawf of the unknown. But this is where tawakkul comes in. This is where tawakkul comes in. This is where tawakkul comes in and says, no, trust Allah and move forward with this. And then you ask Allah, oh Allah, if this is khair, put khair in it. Oh Allah, if this is not good, take it from me. And you move forward, right? We have to be decisive in life too. This indecisiveness is also a satanic trick too, where you never make a decision. And I think a lot of us are not making decisions for what may be around the corner. May be around the corner, and it's not there.
But what if what may be around the corner?
You know, the Prophet said this word "if" is from shaitan.
What if
this word if I had did this, if that? I'm not trying to shout down every if. What I'm trying to say is that's what keeps us from making these decisions.
No, I think a lot of times what keeps us from making these decisions is seeing our parents grow up in loveless marriages.
Okay, now let's talk about something different though. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Hold on. Ooh. Because
before you go on.
No, because there's a balance, right? There's a balance between moving from a relationship because the spark isn't there anymore, right? Just moving from one to the next because there needs to be a spark, and the extreme element of a emotionally void, dead, functional marriage. There's a middle ground there, right? There's a middle ground in between there where there is love. We work on love. We work on cultivating love with him. We've been married for 10, 15 years, but we go on dates still, stuff like that. We say loving things to each other, right? We work on cultivating that love with one another. But if you expect honeymoon, why is it called a honeymoon? Because there's a phase of newness and novelty that every human being naturally likes, right? And there's a change that happens where you mature and your love is just like this deeper type of love. Now, don't get me wrong. Are there examples of just emotionless, just functional, we're just roommates for 30 years? Yes. Do we want to avoid that? Yes. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he showed love. He touched his wives. He held them. He spoke that he loved them. So that's the prophetic example. We want to go for that. I think it's not a binary thing here.
It's not a binary thing, but the reality is that, for example, I tell the story of my grandparents all the time. I've never seen two people more in love than my grandparents.
Allah.
My grandparents went through hell and back because of the situations of life that they were put in. My grandparents, the only way I can describe it is my grandfather had a stroke at about 70. And he had gone 3 days without seeing my grandmother. And my mother was sitting with him, and the door opened, and his face became full of light. And her sister walked in. My mother's sister, my aunt, walked in, and the light went away.
Oh.
And
not in a bad way,
not
but
in a white way.
It wasn't
who he was expecting. And my mom asked him, "Who are you expecting?" He said, "Your mother." Whenever I tell stories of my grandparents to most of the people around me, none of them have seen marriages like that in their elders.
SubhanAllah.
And that is one of the major in reality, there are 2 to 3 things that create the most amount of fear in people. The first is they have seen, at best, roommate marriages.
SubhanAllah.
And at worst, really abusive marriages.
SubhanAllah.
Second, they have seen their mothers or their fathers suffer through it.
Yeah.
And not be able to get out.
Yeah.
And they looked at it and they said, that ain't gonna be me.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That's why I'm not like just, I wrote 2 books on this topic for a reason. Because I felt this was something we deeply needed to discuss. The prophetic model of emotional investment and creating loving, meaningful relationships that are fulfilling. Right? We don't want to make the prophet into a romantic, but he had love in his relationships. And I wanted brothers and sisters to see that as part of the prophetic.
You don't think the prophet was romantic?
I mean, you don't want to take it too far, but he was extremely romantic.
Of course.
The things that he did were amazing, no doubt.
I mean,
100%.
And he was extremely open about it as well.
Oh, definitely.
Man comes to him and asks him,
yes.
Who is the most beloved person to you? He thinks he's going to talk about. He says, no, Aisha.
Yeah, no doubt. When Sophia was getting on the horse, he puts his knee down for her. And I mean, we can go on and on. He turns the cup. I mean, literally, I wrote a book on this for a reason, because I think we need to revive that aspect of marital relationships. I do feel we're dealing with a different generation, though. I do feel that seeing that and having the discussions that we're having like this right now is what's going to protect us from that. We don't need to be scared of marriage and not move forward because of that which we've seen. We can work, and part of our checklist needs to be about emotional investment. These are key questions of a spouse that we're gauging, and some things you gauge by asking, and some things you gauge by asking their friends or looking at people that they interact with, right? So I think I know we should not refrain from moving forward out of fear that it will end up in one of these big extremes. We have to check those major boxes, move forward, find someone that fears God first. I mean that. Find someone that fears God first. Because when things aren't perfect, that fear of God is going to become the default that's going to regulate how they respect and love you in that moment, right?
And we have to get to question and answers after this, but I wanna one of the ways that I help people deal with this is to put the relationships that they grew up with in historical context. And what I mean by that is that if you read the poetry of the ancients and you read the stories of the people in the pre-modern world, it's very clear there was a lot of love in those relationships. And yet you see between the early 1900s till now, that kind of emotionality begins to disappear within the relationships that are taking place during that time. And one of the reasons why that takes place is because you have such incredible tumult that overwhelms the Muslim world. Okay. And people are no longer able to emotionally invest in each other because they're just trying to survive. Yeah. And the best you can hope for is a partner that helps you survive. And that love thing, that comes a little bit.
Just because of the social-political.
Just because of social-political realities. Yeah. We're not really in that time anymore here. Yeah. Right? We are in a time in which we can invest in each other.
A place.
A place, yes, exactly. We are not in a place where that is our reality, right? We're not dealing with the reality of having, the country literally splitting in half and you have to run to one side, and if you don't, you're going to get burned to death, right? That's not our reality. And so the men and women in the relationships, they can invest a lot more emotionality.
Yeah. Can I just segue this a little bit? I do feel that the Hollywood or like the popular culture level of like erotic love, that sparky type love. Also, this word love is what I think we need to really, really think about too. Like when we talk about the ideal level of love, for us, we're in a masjid. Obviously, we're all Muslims. We look at the prophetic love that he would have with the Zawaj Mutahara, how he would speak to them and how he would hold them and he would talk to his wives and how they would reciprocate that back to him as well, right? And that honor and the respect and the love that they would show him. I do feel that it's worth mentioning that what we've seen with popular people in our culture, whether they be movie stars or whatever, is this jumping from one erotic relationship to the next erotic relationship, right? And not having that deep, like your grandparent type love and mawadda, that like I would give my soul for this person type love, right? And I think that's what we're shooting for. And I want to speak to the brothers on this too. You know, there's a narration that says when Khadijah passed away, that the Prophet ﷺ couldn't leave his house for 2 weeks. His heart was broken, right? Like he felt, he said, I feel something missing from me, right? And to me, like this is, as long as when we say we want the spark is a Muhammadan spark, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is passionate, loving, and all those good things we want, but it's not some other people's type of ideal, then that's what we're striving for. That's what we're striving for.
You know, when I read the seerah and I look at his relationships with his Azwaj Mutahhara, Ridwanullahi alayhim, what I find is not spark, I find rest.
Sakina, right? Sukoon.
And this is like the real powerful thing that comes in that ayah, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Right?
Explain it.
You
gotta translate verses, bro.
And amongst the signs that he created for you, spouses from amongst yourselves, so that you may find rest in one another.
And that's why I was trying to tell in the beginning that one of the signs of God is a good spouse. That's crazy. You know why that's crazy to me? In Christianity, the ideal is celibacy. The ideal is to be by yourself. That's not Islamic, right? That's the furthest thing from Islam. And he says one of the signs is I look in my wife's face and I see a sign of God there, that this woman, Allah, she loves me. And she's my place of sakina and peace and tranquility and my support. And another thing that we don't always have to just be so tough and strong. That's why I spoke about in my talk, where he runs to them vulnerably. I think a lot of us have been so used to not showing emotion that we're scared to love again, because the last time we loved, it wasn't reciprocated back. And that may have been a paternal relationship too. By an absentee mom, absentee father. You know, but inshallah, you beg, you cry to Allah that give me a spouse that will get me close to you. And someone that will love me and I can love the way the Prophet loved Aisha and the way she loved him. Make that dua. There's a hadith that says that it is haqqan ala Allah to answer that dua. And then, we're going to move forward. You ready? When Allah gives it to you, never forget what it was like not to have it. A lot of us married in this room, we forgot what it felt like the months before we got the spouse. We would have did anything to be married. We were going crazy. And now Allah gave it to you. And here you are, ungrateful. You want to be single again? You want to be by yourself again? Do you see the blessing you have here? So don't forget what it was like not to have. And don't forget what it was like to have if you had worse. Be grateful for what you have. So just some ideas, just some thoughts for us to really think about. I know everyone may not be at this stage in life, and some of the organizers said this was a great topic for us to talk about. But to me, lower your gaze more. That will help you find contentment. Lower your gaze more. That will help you find contentment. But look for righteousness in a man. If they say, the hadith says, for looking in a man, you want righteousness and akhlaq. But looking in a woman, you just want righteousness. Because if she has righteousness, she already has good akhlaq. But a man could have righteousness but bad akhlaq. That's hadith. So we want to work on our character. There's questions that we want, right?
Yeah, so we're going to pull up the questions, inshallah, and we're going to go through them.
Yeah, the book is for sale. I don't want to plug the book, but...
Okay, if you don't want to plug the book, I'll plug the book.
Yeah, it's just about just becoming better listeners to one another, like in all of our relationships. So basically, one of the things I talk about is just like the Prophet ﷺ was a very good listener to people. And you know what's funny? And I didn't realize this, but nowadays saying someone's a good listener is actually, how do we, y'all know what it means. If you're like, but she's a good listener. Astaghfirullah. No, you don't know what I mean. Like, it's not a good thing. And never mind, forget it. It's like, at least they're a good listener. But no, being a good listener is a prophetic quality, and it's something that we all need, is someone that we could talk to, right? And you can't talk to a wall. You need someone that is able to receive what you're saying.
All right, some of these are like wildly off topic. You good for it?
As long as it's a good question, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Shaykh Mikaeel, what do you think is the reason why the Islamic Golden Age ended?
Oh, that's an easy one. Come on. Y'all know the saying. Hard times make what?
Hard times make strong men.
Strong men make?
Good times.
And good times make?
Weak men.
Yeah, so listen, golden age, we were smart, the science was everything, but we were weak. I've been on this rabbit hole for the last months studying Genghis Khan's life. And I don't know, it's just a rabbit hole, forgive me. But we were very weak at that time. We were engaged in all types of debauchery. We were we were intellectually at the heights. But only people that have time to philosophize are people that are in the luxury style. You know what I'm trying to say? And so I think a lot of the golden age fell because of our lack of struggle.
I mean, this is a saying in the humanities: is the only people who go into the humanities are the people with trust funds.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
It's the same kind of thing. You only got time to sit and philosophize if you don't got to worry about a job.
Exactly, exactly.
Or if you don't want to eat.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a really, really powerful one. What about heartbreak? That happens when you're married to the person? For context, getting divorced because I know it's not good for me, since he pretended to be good.
Getting divorced because I know it's not good for me.
Because he only pretended to be good.
Okay, so it just means that there's a heartbreak rate due to divorce. There's no easy way to deal with that. It's something that we need help psychologically, therapists to help us move forward in life and to unpack the pain. We have to recognize that the pain is real. We have to recognize that it's okay to be in pain because of that separation. That's fine too. And then we need help to move forward. We need help to actually literally move forward because life does go on. But it starts by recognizing I'm in pain and getting help to get over that pain for sure. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, that is life right there, right? That's life.
Yeah, there's a very powerful couplet from Ghalib where he says...
this guy is a bank of couplets, mashallah.
He says, "Ragon mein daurte phirne ke hum nahi qail."
Oh, we're switching languages too.
रगों पे
special guy,
दौड़ते फिरने के हम नहीं कायल जब आंख से ना टपका तो फिर लहू क्या है. He says
Translate.
He says, I am not talking about the blood that flows in your veins. When it hasn't dripped from your eyes, then what is blood?
Okay, that's kind of weird.
What it means is, the idea in Urdu poetry is that tears are actually drip from the heart, not from the eyes.
Oh, nice.
And so when the blood is just moving in your veins, you haven't actually lived. You've only lived when you cry.
All right, so ask the next question.
Okay. Is motivation to wake up for tahajjud, especially at times like these?
Okay, so motivation, how to wake up for tahajjud. Let's just first of all start with that. How to wake up for tahajjud. Okay. Number one, I'm not joking. It's not a joke. Go to sleep early. Go to sleep on time. Okay, a lot of us revenge procrastinate. What's that thing called? Where you just stay up scrolling for no reason. You're not doing anything.
Death scrolling. Oh.
No, not scrolling, but you're staying up. Revenge procrastination, which means you're just staying up for no reason. Go to sleep. Get ready for the next day. Go to sleep. In that day off, start getting ready for the next day. So first thing is go to sleep earlier, number one. Number two, though, this is going to help you a lot for tahajjud. You're going to have to do a little bit of research and gather maybe 3 or 4 ahadith, sayings of the Prophet ﷺ about the virtues of tahajjud. Okay? You're going to read those. You're going to look at them. You're going to embody them. Maybe it's a lecture you listen to, right? Before you go to sleep, I want you to look at those hadith and then go to sleep. Like last thing you look at. Okay?
Okay.
For example, for me, one of the things that helps me, not that I get up all the time, I try, is there's a hadith that says that Allah calls out in the last portion of the night, is there anyone that wants anything from me? So like if you read that right before you go to sleep, then at least you'll turn now this is stage 3 now. Make it progressive. So let's say for the first week, you just wake up, sit up in your bed, make dua, and go back to sleep. Do that for like a month. Literally a month. And then now slowly start to extend. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Okay, I'm just going to pray 2 and I'm going to go straight back to sleep. But it's not all or nothing. So even sitting up in your bed with no wudu, just sitting up, making dua at that time, you're still getting the virtue of making dua in the third portion of the night. But I'll say, the problem with most of us is we don't go to sleep until the third portion.
That's very true. That's extremely true.
I'm telling you, our biggest problem, and I don't want to, Huberman you right now, but you need sleep. Yeah, I don't know Huberman. Okay, whatever.
You just drank some espresso.
Yo, that's my man. My man gave it to me. I'm going to still try to sleep. Listen, the point I'm trying, and we do need to, in this category, so we can actually do this, right? The point is, like, we didn't sleep better and start off small, but actually looking at the virtues of tahajjud before you go to sleep to keep them fresh in your mind, and inshallah, you'll get tawfiq. One more thing. Tahajjud is a gift. Sometimes there's a sin that you've done you need to do tawbah for. And inshallah, you'll get the tawfiq for tahajjud. Inshallah.
There's one of the tips that I think it was Hazrat Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi rahmatullah alayhi who gave it to one of his murids who asked him this exact question. He said to him, you got to kind of fool yourself with the tahajjud a little bit too. He's like, if you're lying in bed and your eye opens, but you're like, I'm going to go to sleep. Tell yourself, no, I'm just going to make a little dua right now.
Yeah.
And then you make a little dua. Exactly. And then you're done making the dua. I was like, maybe I'll just go make wudu.
Yeah.
And then you get up and you go make wudu.
That's a big jump, but yeah.
And then when you don't make wudu, it's like, I made wudu. I'll just pray a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you pray a little bit, and you're like, okay, now I can go back to sleep.
Allah give us tawfiq.
I mean, inshallah.
But now is the time. Now I don't want to. I started this evening's talk with praying for ourselves and praying for Ahl Palestine and Ahl Gaza. Like now more than ever, spiritually, we all need to wake up, guys, and be on our game spiritually. That doesn't mean we're sinless. Come on, like kullu bani adam khata. Everyone commits sins. But the thing that we need to do is just be on this grind that, no, spiritually, I got to get better.
So I think the one that everybody is going to agree with here is Shaykh Mikaeel, time to move your talents to DMV.
My wife would kill me, man. You crazy? We moved from here, come back here. Inshallah, we'll visit a lot, inshallah.
Can we get that as a pinky promise?
We'll make it work.
Inshallah. So I know we promised you 12:30 hard end, right?
Inshallah,
and so we really, really appreciate you taking this time with us. We know.
I appreciate sitting with you, sitting with everyone. This is great time spending together, time with other. Listen, there's a hadith, you may have heard me say it in the podcast. Not a hadith, there's a statement of Sidi Ahmed Zarruq, where he says one of the ways you clean your heart is, he says, istinshaq rawa'uhu sidq bimakharati ahliha. He says one of the ways you can clean your heart is by breathing the same air as righteous people. Just breathing the same air. So like you're like, I'm tired, whatever, but you're breathing the same air of righteous people. I know some of y'all are like, I'm getting sick in here. No, but the idea, spiritually, breathing the same air has a lot of impact on our hearts. And so we need these gatherings. Our hearts literally like calibrate by being around stronger hearts. Sohbah. That's it. Allah give us
and
that.
I wanna leave you with this. It's been a very long day for most of the people, I think, in this room, right? Because we marched, and then we went through a very difficult and heavy program at Miftah. But I don't see any tired faces here. Everybody is so happy to see you. And I want to leave you with a couplet that explains why.
Allah, let's go.
It says, वो जो मुंह पे जो आती है उनको देख के रौनक वो समझते हैं कि बीमार का हाल अच्छा है. Which means the light that comes to my face when I see them, they think that the patient's situation as well. Meaning that...
Hold on, say it one more time though, before you explain it.
The light that comes to my face when I see them, they think that the ill patient's situation has become well.
I need help, yo.
Well, which means
I didn't want to fake. I was gonna be like, oh, but then I was gonna fake it for real, but then keep it real.
which means
I don't get it yet.
which means the patient is in pain and is suffering, is in a difficult time, is lying in their room. Then my grandmother enters the room. And my grandfather looks at her and says, Sultana.
I love it.
And she thinks he's been well the entire time. And that's us looking at you. So we promised Sheikh Mikaeel 12:30 hard stop. So unfortunately, this is where we are going to have to end. But we have a fist bump promise that he is, inshallah, going to be visiting us more. And we will, inshallah, love to host you.
If I can ask a quick favor, Shaykh Mikaeel, if you can leave us with some parting advice, if that's okay with you. Is it good? Okay, no, it's good. Okay. I'll turn it back over to you. Just quick announcement. So Shaykh Mikael's book, this one right here, Shad, hold it up, is available for sale outside, right here by the front door. So please support Shaykh Mikael's research, all the time and effort and energy he's put in. MashaAllah, we can only hear so much in an hour, but he's put, obviously, how many hours he put into that book, right? So please support our scholars. This is an event that, inshallah, the style of it is something we hope to do regularly at Qahwa. So follow us on Instagram, join the WhatsApp channel. And we hope to do this, especially on Saturday nights, at least once a month going forward. And then Ramadan, we do it every Saturday night. So, inshallah, we hope to see you all again here. I'm going to turn over back to Shaykh Mikaeel if he wants to say anything. If you don't want to, it's totally up to you.
Let's just make a dua together, inshallah. اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله وإليك يرجع الأمر كله علانية وسره اللهم لك الحمد حتى ترضى ولك الحمد إذا رضيت ولك الحمد بعد الرضا اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Ya Allah, we ask you to accept this gathering, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you to make this a gathering by which we are inspired to get closer to you, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, to alleviate the suffering and the struggles of our brothers in Gaza, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you to make it easy for them, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Those who have died amongst them, we ask you to give them the rank of shuhada, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to give sabr upon their family members, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you to clean our hearts from any hypocrisy, Ya Allah, any anger, any difficulties in our hearts spiritually. We ask you to purify our hearts, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, you know we spoke about marriage, Ya Allah, in this gathering. Ya Allah, those of us who are looking, Ya Allah, and we want to complete our deen to make you happy, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. We beg of you, we turn to you, we plead to you, Ya Allah, make it easy for us, Ya Allah. Make it easy for us to find a spouse that will help us know you and get closer to you and be a source of goodness for us on the Day of Judgment, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you to bless our families, Ya Allah, with love and muhabba, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, allow us to open our hearts to those that we love and be close to them, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you again, Ya Allah, forgive our sins, Ya Allah. Allow us to be better tomorrow than we were today, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you to accept all of our righteous deeds. We ask you to overlook and forgive our sins, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Ya Allah, we ask you to resurrect us close to your Habib, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. The staff, inshallah, are looking forward to going home after a long day. So as soon as we can, inshallah, if we can exit the building, and if we can change the room back to how it was, if we can get some volunteers to do that, that'll be very helpful. So as soon as we can, inshallah, if we can make our way outside. Jazakallah khair.
Alhamdulillah, how are you? Do I have time to pray too, like I?
I
remember in the group chat they said your grandfather passed away, so
Yes.
I just wanted to say salam and like I wish
Appreciate
you.
That's very kind of you. I appreciate
Yeah, I
that,
just
man.
remember
Jazakallah khair.
saying that, like,
What's up, bro? What's your name?
Good to see you.
We'll see you guys more often, man.
We're
trying to do this regularly.
We've been going to ISB Revive on Thursdays.
Oh,
That's
dude,
why I
that's
actually
lit.
stopped.
That's
Yeah,
lit.
alhamdulillah. So we volunteer all the time. We've been trying to get that built up. Oh, it's good. Alhamdulillah. We're trying to.
I've been following them. That's excellent.
Yeah, I'm glad to. You know, like they really well. They really do. So I think it's like bringing a lot of people. Honestly,
Especially in America, you should have that kind of space. Social.
yeah.
We say you're gonna start doing this every Saturday.
Not every Saturday. This will be once a month. We're on a volume every Saturday.
We're gonna try to come. We're trying to come on the Thursday ones, but we just can't.
Because of Revive.
Yeah, I live in Baltimore. Yeah. I tried in the beginning, but now that Revive started. No, support your women. Yeah. But we're gonna try it for the Saturday. Have you ever? It's gonna be cool. If you ever need help with anything, let us know. You paying attention? Were you paying attention? I took notes. Pay attention. A lot of notes.
Commitment, brother, commitment.
I know that there's a fear of
So, if we get some brothers to help us break down, it'll be very helpful. If we get 4 brothers to help us break down, we need 4 brothers. 4 brothers. We get some more brothers to help, inshallah. We just got to take the couches and the trees inside Qahwa. The couches and the trees inside Qahwa, inshallah. If we have some other brothers that can, brothers, if y'all, we have somebody's in the gym that need to be brought here. If any strong brothers want to help. These things that are in the gym, we need them back in here.